The first impression, as you know, Ruchi, is that when somebody walks into the room, you know how fast it takes you to analyze the person? 3 seconds before the person even opens his or her mouth.
Today's guest has navigated some of the world's most dangerous waters from Cape Horn to the Strait of Magellan, led Fortune 500 businesses across continents, worked with 75 nationalities, lived and traveled across 120 countries. A British master mariner, a global leader, a certified radio presenter, a poet, founder of Sharper Edge India, a finishing school dedicated to international etiquette, appearance, and executive presence. Please join me in welcoming Captain Vivek Bonnie Bhasin. Your clothes are an extension of your own personality, so it has to align with your inner self.
You can fool the world, but you can't fool yourself.
You will feel confident if you are authentic to yourself.
A time-driven process before you can align all these different verticals into that person. Life is a camino. You just keep walking. You never stop talking. You never stop walking.
What do you think? Is etiquette outdated or more relevant than ever? One habit that instantly elevates anyone's presence. If you had to teach image in one sentence, what would it be? Namaste and hello to everyone. Welcome to India's first and only podcast dedicated to image, presence and style psychology. I'm your host Ruchi Raj, a fashion technologist turned image coach and founder of Poised Presence. Here we don't just talk fashion. We explore identity, first impressions and the art of intentional dressing and bring learnings from experts around the globe. There are people who build careers. And then there are people who build presence. Today's guest has navigated some of the world's most dangerous waters from Cape Horn to the Strait of Magellan, led Fortune 500 businesses across continents, worked with 75 nationalities, lived and traveled across 120 countries. But what makes his journey truly fascinating is this. After mastering the seas and boardrooms, he chose to master refinement as well. A British master mariner, a global leader, a certified radio presenter, a poet, a romantic at heart maybe. And in past, he has also been founder of Sharper Edge India, a finishing school dedicated to international etiquette, appearance and executive presence. He's a living example of composure, elegance and credibility. Let me add another interesting fact about him. Since March 2020, while the world slowed down, he kept moving. Quite literally. He has walked over 17,500 kilometers, often alone, carrying a 9-kilogram bag across the historic routes of El Camino through Spain, Portugal, and France. From 200 kilometers to 1,200 kilometers at a stretch. Following nothing but a yellow arrow and a shell towards Santiago de Compostela. Through oceans, boardrooms, and long solitary walks. One philosophy seems to guide him. Never stop walking. This episode is not just about fashion. It's about what truly creates first impressions, commands respect, and travels across cultures and globe. If you're a professional, entrepreneur, student, or a leader who wants to refine how you show up in the world, this conversation is for you. Please join me in welcoming Captain Vivek Bonnie Bhasin.
Thank you very much, Ruchi. That was right across a massive spectrum.
Thank you. And I would say I'm so honored and I feel blessed to get chance to speak people with such vast experiences. Thank you for it.
It's a privilege for me as well that you got in touch with me and I feel honored as well to be here.
Thank you. And yes, so the very first question to you, Captain Vivek. You have navigated Cape Horn, worked across countries, led businesses, and you also ran a finishing school where you used to work with 5-star hotels, the trainings. What shaped this journey? And would you like to share some insight into how did it all look like?
Well, everybody is different in this world, and this is what I say is you've got to be unique. Don't try to follow anybody because you are the way you've been built. But now you've got to pick up the best from everybody. You're also going to meet some interesting people. You're going to meet some people who are not that interesting. But you have to make sure that you pick up the best. Now, I was a young boy. At the age of 5, my parents sent me to a boarding school up in the mountains, Bishop Cotton School. So the age of 5 from Calcutta to Simla, all by myself. Of course, there were youngsters with me, and it was a school party, train from Calcutta up to Bishop Cotton School in Simla. So right from that time, I knew is that life's not going to be that easy for me. My mom's not going to be there tucking me into bed and giving me a kiss every night. I had to be a survivor, and that's what I became. So I was in boarding school for 10 years of my life. It was a Christian boarding school, but we were from all creeds and faiths. And we sort of set up this brotherhood. After that, I went out to sea because I followed my dad. He was also a captain and he was a pilot on the Hooghly River. I went out to sea. And again, my outlook to life was I want to go out into the world. I want to see the world and get paid for it rather than paying for myself and buying a ticket.
Wow.
So that's what I did. I went out to sea. I spent a lot of time at sea. Then I got a shore job in San Jose, Costa Rica. I was there. By the way, it's the only country that has no army.
Wow.
And so I was there for 4 or 5 years, and then I was transferred to London as the managing director. But right along the way, I was always picking up the best from people, their first impressions, which was very important. And I tried to imbibe that within myself. Not only that, I also gave back because people used to ask me, which part of the world do you come from? Are you from Italy? Are you from Spain? I said, no, sir, I'm from India. No, ma'am, I'm from India. So where did you learn how to speak your language, your English? I said, I learned that in India. So this is not something that I learned overseas. You do pick up a few accents. You do pick up people who you work with. But on the other hand, I was giving back as well as taking back. So what happened is as the years went by, I decided, in a sense, I looked at people and I said, you've got to be unique. You can't copy somebody. You've got to make the first impression. And that's what I did. I picked up the best. I started looking at people, the way they dress, but I wasn't going to copy them exactly. I wanted to have my own unique style, my own brand. But again, it's the confidence. And this is what I think is very important as we talk, is it's the confidence and it's the first impression. So this is all that I've done all along. And I continue to learn every day, just as you do. I learn every day. Everybody else, my grandchildren learn every day. My friends, my family. I pick up the best from my mom. She's 94 years today. I pick up the best from my grandson, Jeev, he's 9 years old. Or my granddaughter, Olivia, who's 12. Or my wife, she's Swedish, but on the other hand, she's a conservative. She's very reserved. She's very neutral in her outlook. But I do respect her for what she is. I think she sort of tolerates the way I look and the way I do things, but that's how it is. We are living our lives together, but there's a lot of diversion. There's a lot of, it's like a river that moves in and it's different tributaries. You come in, you join for a while, and then you move on and you continue doing your own thing as long as we are happy and we respect each other.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Like it just kind of gives like a gist of the perspective of life, that learning is ever ending.
You're absolutely right.
You can learn every day, and it just goes on and on till you can. And uniqueness, rightly said, that we all are beautifully unique in our own ways, and it's so important to kind of embrace that uniqueness and make that as the part of your personal brand or the part of that first impression. And by the way, you look amazing. I mean, I love the way you pull off colors and everything that you do with it. Just shows the creativity that you have too, and the self-expression, and I think that communicates a lot.
Well, thank you very much, Ruchi. I think that's what's important, is that you've got to feel comfortable in your own skin and what you wear. Now, there are many people who say, no, this is not going to suit me. This is not my style. In fact, if I look at India, the men especially, I mean, I've done finishing school, as you said, even for young ladies. I did a finishing school they were called the Welcome Divas at the ITC at the Moria. Mm-hmm. And so I had to teach them a little bit on their body language and, their first impressions, how they're going to create with VVIP guests that come in. But what is important is that you've got to have the confidence.
Yes.
Now, I wear what I think will suit me, and I feel confident about it. If you put on something, you force somebody to wear an orange jacket and a pink pair of trousers, he'd say, listen, this is not my style. But maybe if I have the confidence, I might even wear that and then accessorize it with different things and still look good. Yes. Because if you don't feel good within yourself, it's no point fooling the world.
True. 100%.
Right?
Yeah. It's more like your clothes are, like what I believe is your clothes are an extension of your own personality. Like
Absolutely.
it's just something from within that gets reflected on the outside. So it has to align with your inner self and your own personality. This just sounds so lovely because I'm so looking forward to taking on more, I would say, guidance and also wisdom from you on these aspects particularly. So before that, I do have one more question. Did etiquette or presence ever change the outcome of a professional situation for you, if we talk about any professional context? And
Absolutely, that is so important. When I talk about, I was at sea, I was a captain in the merchant navy. I worked with so many nationalities. I sailed with so many nationalities. Now there was this big question: is that I work for an American company. It's called Dole Fresh Fruit. It's the largest fresh fruit and vegetable company in the world. But I said after many years of sailing, I wanted a break. I wanted to come ashore. And there was this job opportunity in San Jose, Costa Rica. Now, Costa Rica is in Central America. They wanted one captain to come in and work on a safety and quality management code. Now, we were so many of us, everybody wanted that job.
yeah,
So now, how do you convince the person who's interviewing you that you are the right person for the job? I did not put on any artificiality. I was just my natural self, but I dressed well. I wore a nice suit, I wore a tie, and I presented myself. I was courteous, I was confident. My body language is not over the top. I was not fidgeting. It's very important to stay calm and collected where you sit or how you stand. How you stand, your body language, and how you approach somebody, how you greet somebody, and that sort of cracked it. They
Wow.
thought that, Captain Vivek Bonnie Bhasin is the ideal guy to come to Costa Rica. So that was my job. The first job or the first shore assignment I got, thanks to the way I projected myself with my body language, with my expression, and with the clothes I wore. So this was all, it's a combination. It's not, you can't go to one extreme. You've got to make sure that the way you dress. Now, if I went for an interview, I wouldn't dress in these sort of clothes. I'd probably wear a more sober suit.
yeah.
But still, I'll have my own style. And that style also comes with the confidence that you've got by living and working and traveling and meeting the most amazing people all over the world.
Wow. I think that's on point example that you shared. Thank you for sharing that. And it definitely shows that, there are so many people out there in the competition. How do you differentiate yourself? So these are some of the pointers. These are those uniqueness that you carry with yourself, maybe. And then that becomes the distinguishing factor. in
The
long
first
run.
impression, as you know, Ruchi, is that when somebody walks into the room, he or she doesn't even have to open a mouth. You know how fast it takes you to analyze the person? 3 seconds. It takes just 3 seconds before, wow. Or you say, oh, okay, average. Before the person even opens his or her mouth or presents himself, you've already got the first impression. You might find somebody walks into a reception, into a marriage, you see him from a distance or see her from a distance. The way she carries herself, the way she's dressed, she's confident, she's poised. All that immediately, it's like a magnet. You get attracted. I must go close. I must talk to this person. Let's see what she can give to me. I've seen her now. 3 seconds is what it took. So I'm going to zero in on that person or this gentleman and see what more can I get from him. It's not only inquisitiveness from his side, but it's what I can get from him as well.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, that's so true. And just on little off topic, that I remember this meeting you in my friend's wedding, and we just I and my husband, and we were like, "Ooh, we definitely want to give a compliment to you," and
Yeah, it was so
because
nice
the
of
way
you.
you dressed, and it just it was just something, as you said, that we looked at and we were like, we want to talk to you. So that's so true. It just happens on its own, and your mind does it. You don't even, it's just something that's happening on the back end. You don't even force your mind to do it. So that's how.
You know, Ruchi, the thing is that Indians, we are very smart intellectually, we are very smart theoretically, but when it comes to first impressions on a global basis, now, since I've traveled all over the world, it was important for me to project myself. I represent myself as a person who was born and brought up in India, with an Indian family. I went to a good public school, a boarding school, and then I've got to project myself as a brand ambassador of India.
Yeah.
I may be living in Sweden or in Argentina or in Costa Rica or in London, but I am Indian. And that's something we Indians have got to be proud of. We are very good theoretically. We are very good in IT. We are doing very well. We're making big strides. The top guy in Google, the guy in Spotify, wherever. But there is a huge group of us that feel is that we can't come forward and make that impression. And that's what I feel is that the minute you land up at an airport in London or in Geneva or in Stockholm, you've got to be very representative. I know you've come back after a long flight, you're pretty tired, you're messed up, but it's that first impression to the immigration officer, to the customs. That's very important.
Yeah.
You come out with a polite greeting. Thank you very much. Good morning. I've just come on this flight. All this is very important. Let them get that first impression.
Yeah.
We Indians have got to come up on that level, and that's what I strive to do. And as you said, the name of my last company was the Sharper Edge Indian. I want every Indian to be sharp and have that cutting edge. Because we can do it. We don't have to walk and talk or dress like Italians or the French or the British. We can do it even better.
Yeah.
Because we come from such an old culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying is that it's going to be completely westernized. That's what it is. We are such a diverse culture in India.
Yeah.
You can wear a kurta pajama, you can wear a dhoti, you can wear an ajkan. As long as you carry yourself, you wear a beautiful sari like you're wearing. You wear if you're getting married, you wear this nice wedding ensemble. People are looking at India and they see it's so many bright colors, but the challenge is to combine it all.
Yes.
And that's something it's up to you as an individual. You can go to every fashion designer in the world. They've got established credentials today, but you are your own fashion designer. You are your own icon.
Yeah.
And that's something you've got to do.
That's so true. That's so true. And I think, many times people mistake this, that looking sharp or looking professional or looking impactful is only by westernizing things. But the thing is, it's not about that. You can be all the, you can incorporate all the elements. It's just that you just need to know and I would say explore
Exactly.
learn the right ways. And it's more like a skill, I say.
It is a skill.
It's as simple as learning a skill of being presentable. And that's what I am on the strive on through this podcast and through Poised Presence, of helping individuals, being their best, not just by looking, but also feeling that confidence and in their own potential, in their own skin,
You're
not
right.
being someone else.
You're absolutely right.
So,
you can fool the world, but you can't fool yourself.
yourself. That's so true. All right. I think you already mentioned a gist of it, but still I would like to emphasize this particular point, that in a world obsessed with personal branding and visibility, we all are running after it. Is etiquette, what do you think? Is etiquette outdated or more relevant than ever? So
It's extremely relevant. It is extremely relevant because you've got to be polite. You've got to have a certain way of presenting yourself. You've got to, etiquette is what? It's a very diverse subject. Etiquette is like, even when you sit in a restaurant, whether it's a Western cuisine or whether it's an Indian cuisine, there's a certain way of eating.
it.
There's a certain way of using a knife and a fork. Now, there's a reason why you put the knife under the fork when you're making polite conversation, because in the olden days, it was a gesture that I've come in peace. If not, I can pull that knife out and stab you from under the table. These are the different things. And then, so you're having your soup, for example, there is a certain way of using the soup spoon. So when you take a little, if you take the soup and you scoop it up into your spoon, you'll get a drop that falls down onto the soup and it could splatter your clothes. So you've got to dip it there and pick it up.
Yeah.
While on the other hand, when you're eating Indian cuisine, you're eating Indian chapatis or sabzi, vagera, that doesn't mind. But you've got to still show that there's a certain etiquette. You can't clam your hands and, make it all and everything's falling. You've still got to you've got to eat slowly, you've got to eat patiently, masticate properly, make polite conversation, and enjoy not only the food, but the ambience and the company that you are in.
Yeah.
That's very important.
It also shows respect for the company you are with, and also I think the culture that
And switch off your mobile phone.
Ah, that's so important. Thank you for
Because
mentioning
what I
that.
notice is that today in this world, anywhere you go, it's not only in India, it's in Costa Rica, Sweden, Argentina, wherever I've traveled. Four of you are good friends. You're sitting in a restaurant, and all four of you have got your mobiles on.
Yeah.
So, are you really concentrating on each other? Now, I can understand there is this new fancy title or called an influencer, which I don't know what, but they seem to be very, very in these days, an influencer, because he may be saying, oh, listen, I went to this restaurant and I ate this,
Yeah.
and he or she flashes it on with a million followers, and everybody wants to take up on
Do
that.
that.
But fine, you are following a certain person, but be a little judgmental about yourself. Do I really need it?
Exactly.
Good, I've heard this person, I've seen this person, whatever he sent to me or she sent to me. But listen, I know where I stand, and that's my way of doing things.
Yeah.
So that's how it is. So just have to be a bit careful as far as that. But the mobile is a thing we can't really live without today. So that's
Yeah,
how it
that's
is.
tough. That's really tough nowadays. But yes, and that's what we say that earlier when we used to sit, we used to talk. But nowadays, even if you're the example that you said, even in family, even in homes, you are sitting with your own phones in the living room. That is a case at many of the places. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's definitely something we should, it's a part of etiquette too, and
It is,
we
very
should
much.
try to, I would say. So there's this coach who is Arthur C. Brooks. He's a writer, and I really follow him. And he talks about happiness, art of happiness. So he says that one rule that I have for my family is when we are having dinner, the phone should not show up on the dining table. So he has that rule for his family, and that was something which I really liked, as like taking that one small step towards this. That if you say that I will not use it, you somehow want to see what's happening. But if you take it like, okay, this is like 20 minutes, it's not gonna be on the table. So that is like a quick small way
Absolutely. I
of,
fully agree with him. I fully agree with him, and that's the way it should be. But I do agree sometimes even
Yeah.
I might get a buzz in my right chest because it's the buzz. I've got it on silent. And you say, no, I've got to look into this. But
Yeah, that's
listen, the world's not going to come to an end. If it did come to an end, the roof would have come down on your head.
exactly
Right?
true. True. No, I agree. Thank you for mentioning that. And I think that was like really important. Okay, so I think we talked a lot about the experience and how you have been into it. Maybe we'll go into some quick tips about it. Would be interesting to have some tips from you. So, according to you, one habit that instantly elevates anyone's presence, according to you.
The one habit, now it depends where or what you're really asking, because the one habit is, again, if you're meeting somebody for the
Social.
first time, social habit is, again, be composed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't throw yourself into a crowd. Stand where you are. Say you're with your partner. These days it's partner. It's not a wife or
Yeah.
it's your partner. They say be present with your wife. It's your partner because there's a huge spectrum of who your partner could be.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's the first impression. You stand there. You are. Imagine yourself on an island and you are the only person there. But what you've got to be is the lighthouse. You've got to be the lighthouse. You're flashing now and then, but you're also silent for a while. And not that you're waiting for everybody to come running onto you because you're a magnet, but you've got to be well dressed. You've got to be elegant. You've got to be soft spoken. And if you see somebody, have the courage to go forward and introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And one thing you should never do is, once you introduce yourself, it's how do you do? And don't start going, so what do you work with? Where are you from? How much money do you earn? I have this friend in high places. You don't need to have all that. That's all BS. That's not really part of a conversation. You never talk about money. You never talk about, your status in life. All that will naturally come out when they would know that who this person is. But you don't have to force it on, and don't ask these questions, which is a typical thing that people ask here, at least in our country. You go for get-togethers overseas, they don't really ask. In fact, there is a written rule as well for certain parties is you're not going to ask all these questions until you really break the ice. And if that person asks you, but it's done in a very discreet manner.
Yeah.
You don't want to show off that this is what I did, or I'm driving this car, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be impressive anymore. So
Yeah.
what is important is that you've got to present yourself in a proper manner, be well dressed for the occasion, be polite, be gentle in your approach, and have this big smile.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Smile is the best gift you can give
Yes.
to anyone.
Yes.
I really want to believe this, and it really helps. It just brings in that comfort to the room, to the environment when you have that smile. And it doesn't take much to
And
smile.
what's important today is, like I've seen that at least overseas and even here, when you walk into a room, you're a beautiful young lady, you've got your hubby. When you walk into a restaurant, he must open the door. He must open the car door for you to sit down. And when you get out again, he shouldn't get in and slam the door, or he gets in first. It's not a male thing. It is respect. And that is etiquette as well. It's a proper etiquette. And this is something which needs to be pushed hard into everybody today.
Yeah.
That is so important.
Yeah. And it comes to it's also a lot about showing respect. I think
It
etiquette
is.
is a lot about showing
Respect.
respect to the culture, to the
Yeah.
person, to the environment you are into, and to the place, the setup, everything. So
That's very important.
all right. Okay, so this is something which is interesting one. What are the 3 appearance mistakes that damages credibility? If we specifically talk about credibility, according to you, any 3 things that you think one should avoid to?
Well, as I just mentioned, when you talk about credibility, that if you're in a social gathering, you stay away from your sort of personal life in terms of how much you earn, and what all or how many countries you visited. I know you did mention I visited 120 countries, but I'm not going to flash that at a get together. That's very important. But when it comes to your personal being or your personal attire, as I said, you've got to go with the flow. In other words, if this is a party that has got a certain, if it's a fancy dress party, you can dress the way it is. But don't, as I said, like you get a lot of the youngsters today, if there is a formal occasion, they still come with, with their, because they've got like 50 packs here, not 6 packs or 12 packs, and they'll open up their chests and they'll have 3 mobiles in their hand, and they'll have a pack of Marlboro cigarettes on the right hand side. That's not impressive.
Appropriateness.
That's not appropriate. You've got to be appropriate. You've got to be, as I said, sophistication. Now, sophistication, as I said, it may be an English word. What is the Hindi word for sophistication? I'm not very good in Hindi.
Sabhyata?
Sabhyata? I'm sure that's what it is.
I think so. Yeah.
ठहरे हुए आदमी जो कहते हैं ना उनको, what do you say, the people who are
Composed.
Composed.
Composed, calm, and
So again, that's what's important is that you don't come in and, as I said, maintain a certain level of your vocal decibels. Don't go over the top. You come in and what I've also observed, it's not only here, overseas, is that when somebody comes in, people know that he's a big shot. So he might come in, and you'll see it that he'll only zero in onto 1 or 2 of his friends, and he'll ignore the rest.
yeah.
And he'll expect that people should come up to me because I'm a magnet. No. The host should also go out of his way or her way to introduce everybody.
Yeah.
If not, it's a blunder. I think that's not the way to do it. You've got to be, this is a social gathering. Okay, if you go to a party, you go to a marriage where there are 1,200 people coming, one of these high fancy weddings, you wouldn't know anybody. But then have the courage like you had. I'm so impressed that you came up to me and you complimented me. And I feel embarrassed is that because by the way, we were all sea captains and marine engineers who were there, because Captain Vivek Bonnie Bhasin, his daughter Akshata, I've known Viren for so many years, last 30 years or so. So he especially wanted me to be there, and we were all together. But I noticed that there were some very fine people there who were very elegant, who were well cultured, and that went with you as well. Probably I had my back to you, I didn't see you, but you came up to me and you introduced. I was really humbled because that's what you did.
Thank you.
So that's very important, is that you've got to, in these parties where somebody comes in, I feel is that there's no real introduction. And the thing about India, what I've noticed is that parties are held and they continue very late into the night.
Yeah.
That's fine. So somebody will come in and he's got 5 parties to attend to. So the man or the gentleman or the couple will come in. Oh, we are busy. We've just come from 2 parties. They're going to another 3 parties. And then dinner is served around midnight.
Yeah.
By the time you're completely sozzled, then you have your dinner and you're gone. In fact, I had some friends years ago. They came for a get-together. They were from overseas. And normally overseas what happens is that you have dinner by about 6:30, 7. And then you don't say namaste, thank you, we're gone. You then converse. You then have a brandy or you have a sherry.
The
or you have a
purpose of
glass
social gathering.
You've got to have a social gathering. Here in India, what I find is that they come in, it'll carry on. 11:30, midnight, khana is served, and within 20 minutes, you're gone.
Yeah.
So maybe there should be a slight change of culture. I'm not insisting on that, but then you actually get to know people.
So true.
I mean, you can get to know people even during the... and these days, again, of course, you want to exchange contacts because you are in touch and you like each other, or you want to continue and make this friendship even bigger or greater. But there has to be, a certain way of doing things.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah. It's more like if we talk about dressing, dress for occasion, appropriateness in behavior, presence, and even, like the way you show up. That's also, again, a form of respect, I would say. It's
you did mention about certain brands or certain clothes that people in India or overseas, they go in. I mean, the big brands are well established, Burberry and Ralph Lauren and Chanel and Versace. But if you've noticed that in these big fashion shows which they have, where you get these models who walk down the ramp and they wear these fancy clothes, can you really wear them on a day-to-day basis? What they do with them is that they'll pass those clothes on to celebrities out of Hollywood for the Oscar night, for the Oscar gala or the Grammys. But then after that, you can't really wear them. So I'm still trying to figure it out, is that within this line, there's also going to be a line which is for everyday wear.
Yeah.
That's very important. And another thing I've noticed about certain people, I know I don't want to mention nationalities, they'll come in and they say, do you like my suit? And I say, you know what? It's Versace. By the way, this is Bonnie Bhasin.
Oh, wow, that's
No, but I'm just saying is that this is Versace. It's Christian Dior. Listen, that's not impressive for me, man.
That's so true.
I am impressed by you as a person. And right, I like your clothes, but you don't have to flash that this is the label I worn. And you know how much it cost me? Great. It cost you a hell of a lot, man, but thank you. Let's just move on to something else.
Yeah, that's there. And that's, I think, one of the personalities where people just love showing off and boasting what they are especially, carrying with themselves or wearing. But you're so right. I mean, that is also part of etiquette, I would say, that you should not talk about the prices and the brands until asked for. I mean, if someone asks you, that's fine. It's more like providing information. But yes, all right. So I think we have some handy takeaways there. And one more thing, I think that will be really helpful from you. So if you had to give one foolproof tip to always look stylish, what would it be? Like I would say like a quick tip and trick to look stylish for men, especially for men and women, if you want.
For the women, when I was doing the finishing school, I told them this is an open floor. It's all between us. When I even told the women, because they used to come to this hotel, right? They come in, they're coming in. Maybe they take an auto or they come by metro. So then you can't just throw out your traveling clothes and wear on your uniform or your elegant sari. You got to make sure that you're properly. I know that's a wrong word in the West. They call it grooming. Grooming has got many words, in overseas. Grooming is. There's an undercurrent to the word grooming. Oh. Yeah.
Wow.
It deals with like Mr. Epstein.
Okay.
So it deals with him, when he. So, but otherwise, you've got to be well groomed. You've got to be well groomed. Means you've got to make sure you got proper deodorant. You've got, and if you're coming in, it's a hot day. It's 42 degrees in Delhi. You're coming in. Got to take a shower. You got to look elegant because you're going out into the hotel, into the lobby, or wherever you are. You're going into a party. So that is very, very important, is that you've got to make sure is that, and whenever you are, wherever you are, Sometimes you may not be wearing the most impressive clothes. You might be wearing a kurta pajama and you're going across the street to buy something, wearing a pair of kolhapuris, but always be confident in what you're wearing.
Yeah.
The confidence is there. That is very important, is that you've got to be confident in what you wear, and then the rest takes care of itself. And then, of course, it's how you talk, it's your diction, it's your body language. You're talking to an elderly lady, always say namaste, kaise hain aap, and introduce yourself. A little bit of humor doesn't
Harm.
it doesn't harm. So that's very important.
Yeah.
Auntie, you're looking so elegant today. Where have you been? Kya kar rahi hain aap? What is happening? Can I help you with something? This is not just artificial BS that you're throwing across to her. You're saying it with genuineness. If this lady wants some help or somebody wants, like there was my neighbor in England, she lived till 104, by the way.
Wow. Okay.
Her name was Miss Marie Bonner. And I used to wish her in the morning before I went to work, good morning, ma'am. And then good evening. And one day she said, young man, come here. What have I done now? She was 4 feet and a fat paper tall. That's what they call it in English. She was a short lady. She says, come here, ma'am. Come here, young man. And I say, yes, ma'am. I've done something wrong. Where are you from? I said, I'm from India, ma'am. Ah, yeah, I guess so. She's looking at my... are you from Simla? I said, yes, ma'am. Are you from Bishop Cotton School? I said, well, how does she know all this? Did she go up to my apartment and look? She says, no, because you have a certain way. And she says, I was born in India. I went to Tara Hall in England, in Simla. And I used to meet the boys from Bishop Cotton School. And they were always well attired, well groomed in the other way. And very articulate, very polite. They had a certain body language. And she remembered that. She was 104 years old. And she moved back to England when she was 50.
Wow, that's amazing. And that makes me recall the first conversation that you did was you carry an entire identity with you.
Exactly.
And this comes into picture with this example, absolutely, that you carried the entire identity of Shimla school. That was and it's so, and that's why it's so important to always be in that version. I mean, you don't have to fake it, but it's just something that you need to learn and inculcate in yourself.
In fact, now in March,
genuine.
when I'm going to Bishop Cotton School, I'm going back and I'm going to have a course in dining skills for the boys.
Wow.
The senior boys, and then it's going to filter down to the juniors. Proper way of how to sit, how to eat, how to make polite conversation. All that is, I'm going to do that. And then it's their uniforms. You cannot get some standard blazer, and I've told them I need 6 tailors standing by there, man, when I come in. Because all these young kids, they got to look sharp.
Yeah.
And so I want them to learn all this, because my father was a very sharp dresser. He dressed well. For the right occasion, he had the right clothes. And I looked up to him, although I only met him for 3 months throughout the year, because 9 months I was in boarding school. He did come in now and then, but there was a certain way that he carried himself.
Yeah.
I said, I want to be like my father. I want to be like my father. So, and those days, all the materials were amazing. There were tweeds and pure wools. There was no terralines. These days, I think the new material is linen. I love linen.
Yeah.
So you can have nice, I think this may be a linen suit. But linen is very, very good. It carries forward. Of course, in the winter in Europe, it's not possible. But there you go in for wool, and maybe a blend of wool and a little bit of the artificial fibers.
Yeah.
So that's very important, is that you've got to always be aware that people are there and you want to give back to them. Let them say, this person is unique. He's got a great personality, and we are there not to just project ourselves, but we're also there to give back.
Yeah.
And that's very important.
Yes. And to learn.
And to learn.
Yes. I mean, that one thing that you mentioned really stayed with me, that when you're there presenting yourself, it's not just about you presenting, but also about how you can help and what you can learn.
Exactly.
From what you can seek from the presence, others' presence.
Exactly.
So I think that thought itself makes you really humbled and authentic.
Yep.
I mean, if you rewire your mind to think that way, you automatically become very authentic and humbled, in a way that you are seeking learning, but you are being unique and true to your own presence.
Exactly.
Beautiful. I think I love the tips, and I would say the guideline that you gave towards the presence, especially about the appearance side. And I totally agree with the fibers and the fabrics. Earlier, they used to be like really good quality, and these days, because of lot of introductions of artificial fibers, polyesters, I think the quality of fabric plays an important role in your overall presence too.
Very important,
It's
and of course, there's a lot of recycling, which is very
yeah,
important that you recycle the products. And if you want to go in for the top woolen or silks, and they come at a premium
yeah.
price. It's not they're not cheap or they are expensive. But then you're not going to have so many
Yeah.
of them, but have some for special occasions.
Yes,
I
quality.
love all the materials in India. I mean, the silks and the kanji varams from the south, and the
Yeah.
tussar, is that silk from Assam side, and and even the cotton, of course. There's a lot of, I mean, a lot of the green parties now saying, I don't know how many liters of water you sort of waste for making a little bit of cotton cloth, but so these are things that one has to look into.
Yeah, at least we can have some of them in our wardrobes, at least some quality
Yeah.
things that we know that depending on appropriateness of the place or the occasion, we can,
So
wear
what's
those.
your favorite material that you like to wear or you like to adorn?
Oh, I love malmal cotton, which is like the finest.
Velvet, malmal.
Yeah, no, malmal cotton.
Oh, I see.
The
You mean it's
cotton.
called makhan jean?
Yeah, so I love
Is
that.
that what it is? Because I used to have suits made out of that. Because my father used to have these sort of suits. Now I don't know
They are
whether
very good.
you can find these in Delhi, where maybe in Chandni Chowk or someplace, or in Lajpat Nagar, where you got to find them. Otherwise, you can't. People don't
Yeah,
even
and
know what
these
it
days,
is.
thankfully, a lot of women's wear brands, especially for Indian wears, they're doing a lot with these cotton, the very fine cotton, the muslin and the malmal both cotton. So I think that is very good because for me, comfort is the first thing in my clothing. Like that's the first criteria. So I think any cloth that is comfortable. So I'm a very big fan of natural fibers, and I usually wear. So in my podcast, especially, I wear very like handcrafted and my handicrafts like Indian. Today I'm not wearing
So is
because
this a silk sari you're wearing?
this is a organza silk.
Organza silk.
Yeah, so today I have to visit somewhere else in the evening, so I had to get it dressed in a way which is also kind of helps me manage in the evening too.
Yeah.
But I really prefer the handmade clothes, the handmade fibers, the cotton, the linens, and the various forms of cottons.
Yes.
So I really like the muslin also, which is so fine and so like sweat absorption is
I
there.
met some friends on these walks that I do, and they said is that we've never been to India, and I said you come over, and they said we've been told is that if you come to India, come with an empty suitcase,
Yeah.
because they say that it's so much of
Oh
color,
my God.
so much of
And
design.
every state has its own art. I mean, I love jamdanis of Kolkata.
Oh, yes,
That
yes,
is
yes,
so
yes.
good cotton with like weaves, the design weaves. So I also have this passion of, buying the handicrafts from every state that I go to. So I try to get those saris especially from different and I'm just amazed to see the kind of art we have and craft we have in almost every states of India.
They talk about Western fashion. If you go back to, you talked about the Italians and the Spanish and the British, especially the Italians. I think that they are one of the sharpest dressed men and women in the world. But I've walked through the streets of Italy wearing whatever I wear, and we can sort of merge in with them if you know how to dress well. But a lot of them come to India, they come to Rajasthan, they go to
Yeah.
West Bengal, and they source material from here.
Yes.
They even get the karigars in India to make all the designs, and then they convert them into Western wear.
Yeah, the hand embroidery.
And then it's whether it's the silver jewelry, whether it's the old silver jewelry. So they get them specially made. Sometimes they even design them to make them a little Western.
Yes.
But they love India for this.
Even blankets, especially the Jaipuri style blankets, those thin ones.
Yeah, the ones
they
that
also
it's the thin
source
quilts.
Yes,
Absolutely,
yes.
yes. So I think India still maintains the karigars or the
Yeah,
artisans
and the crafts.
and the crafts. Maybe China to a certain extent. Now, of course, we've got neighboring Bangladesh, but overseas,
Yeah.
you get two buttons which are missing on your coat, and they say throw the coat away because and I say, what do you mean? In fact, by the way, I stitched all my curtains myself when I lived in England. I stitched all my buttons. I polish my shoes every morning. I iron my clothes. I want to make sure that, all this, it's not a woman's job. It is everybody's job. And that's
Yeah.
what I say is,
It's a human's
ironing a
job.
shirt, ironing a shirt is an art, by the way. It's a science.
Yes.
And I taught them at the ITC how to iron a shirt. I said, this is the way to iron a shirt. But they're a fantastic chain, I really love those guys. And they were and they were hungry for knowledge, which I gave them for the finishing part of it.
I think that's most important, that you should be seeking enough and you should be like yearning for that learning, so that the more you have that feeling, the more you'll absorb from the person who's there to, guide you or help you learn.
Correct.
So that's
Correct.
so true. No, I totally agree. Ironing is a scientific skill and I am not good at it, honestly. But I know it's a skill. It
I don't
takes
think my
effort.
wife irons any of her clothes. Neither does Radhika.
Yeah. It's tough. It's not easy. It's a skill.
Whenever
Definitely.
my son visits us from Stockholm, he lives in Stockholm. He's a young bachelor. And he used to be with the King's bodyguard, by the way, Dhani.
Okay.
He's 6 feet 3 inches tall. So when he comes to stay with us on the weekends, he says, Pa, can you just iron my shirt for me? I said, me? What about
He has
you?
an expert.
And the guy, he's 6 feet 3 inches tall and he marrows my shirts. Up to today, he likes my shirts.
Yeah. No, but I'm sure why he likes your shirts, because they are interesting.
But he's quite a sober dresser. He's a banker.
Uh-huh.
But still, I said, listen, in the morning, you wear a nice suit, a linen suit and a nice tie, and go in there, because the first impressions are very, very important.
Yes, yes. And there's always a way in every setup to establish your own uniqueness, even in the very formal setups.
In fact, my boss in Costa Rica, he was an Englishman, tall chap, Mr. Ian Pull, God bless him. And when he was opening an office in London, I was the junior most in the office in Costa Rica. He called me in and he said, Vivek, you are going to London because you are going to represent Dole Fresh Fruit
Yeah.
as the managing director. And I said, not only am I going to represent them, sir, I'm going to represent my family, I'm going to represent my country, and I'm also going to represent my school where I was born. In a way, I was born in that school. And so it's all that which is going to combine to make my position in London a great success for the company. But that's and he was, so I was there and everybody was getting, hey, what is this guy doing? He's a young guy, and I was young those days.
But that's the spirit and the confidence that you have.
So I
mean.
pushed myself in and I was there, and
And do you think it takes a bit of your come out of the comfort zone to push to that level?
Absolutely, you've got to come out of the comfort zone. And I think what I find in India is that generally when I talk about men, I'm talking about men, there is no organization, possibly yourself, for the men in their 40s, 50s and 60s. They have the money, but they don't know how to wear the right attire for themselves. I'm not saying you're going to wear flashy clothes like myself, and neither do you go into Bottega Veneta or
Yeah.
Chanel and buy a jacket. Somebody has to tell them, because if you look at all the models, if you look at GQ, for example, they used to call me Captain GQ, by the way, when I was sailing in America. So you'll always find that the models are very anorexic. Is that the right word? The men have got flat bellies,
Yeah.
and the girls are, they're very frail, but they've got to look like models. But there has got to be a magazine where you show that there's a normal guy.
Yeah.
He might have a little pot belly sitting there, but he's dressed well.
Yes, yes.
He's got a nice pair of shoes. He's got a nice pair of dandy socks he's wearing. And that's lacking. I think anywhere in the world, you very rarely find that there are models in their 40s, 50s and 60s. They're only showing young models in
Yeah.
magazines and in fashion houses.
These days still there are some brands and fashion shows especially. You'll be very happy to know, last episode that I did here was
Yeah.
with a model who is 62 years old, and she turned a model in her 60s.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. So grey hair, we call her grey hair model, and I'll share that episode with you. So these days I'm very, like, on this point only, there are some fashion shows especially that are preferring people into their 60s 50s to come up and embrace their age and talk about that age and the style. And also especially I think Sabyasachi, if you'll see, there are models who are plus size models. So on the female side definitely there are some, but yes, I do agree there need to be more, because we need to feel relatable.
Yes.
They are very wishful bodies for a normal human being, right? So there needs to be more and more. And you might be little happy to know that Personally, I work with men. Like my forte is working on men's styling.
Oh, great.
Because I believe that as women we have space to go and talk about style and fashion and maybe our friends, family, siblings, but for men it really becomes a challenge to speak about some of the insecurities, or maybe to even speak about fashion and get the guidance. So I really wanted to fill in that gap and come into the picture to help men who want to look presentable, and they want to put forward with, because they have everything, the skill, the one thing that I can help with. So that is something which I am now focusing on. So when you said, I thought of mentioning it.
You're very right, Ruchi. In fact, you look at a beautiful couple in India, they're well dressed. Normally you'll find the wife, in this I'm talking about a couple or a partner, the wife she has spent a lot of time looking beautiful, elegant. The husband he's wearing his normal clothes, but I think 99% of the women in India buy clothes for their men, for their partners.
Yes.
Now I used to work the other way around. I used to buy clothes for my wife, but she has a different way of dressing. She doesn't ask me anything because I know exactly what I want to wear when I want to wear it.
Mm-hmm.
But in India, I find is that the women are spending more time guiding their partners in what to wear. Because the men, as you said, they feel vulnerable, they don't feel secure, they feel they don't feel confident.
And they don't find the space to even talk about these, because they think that this is a topic of maybe not a man should talk about, like fashion and style, or maybe how to, if someone is looking, for example, want to maybe is insecure about their belly, they feel insecure to talk about this to anyone, and they're like, where to go? So that is the truth, because when I talk to few people when on the discovery and things, and when I when I give them that space to open up, I find so many thoughts that's there in their mind, and it just, they feel. And the one thing that I think one of the clients told me was, Ruchi, I felt heard for the first time. And that was something which made me believe that this is what I work for. Because it just made me feel that someone really felt that someone is listening to him. Someone is listening about his likes and dislikes and what he would want to wear.
So did you get to change him, or did he change himself after the advice you gave him or what you passed on to him? Did he change?
Yeah, I worked with him.
He became different?
Yes, I worked with him.
In his personality, in his etiquette, in the way he dressed, his overall?
And he got a very different perspective to now everything that he has.
Fantastic.
And he got so interested into fashion that he wanted to start a t-shirt brand, because he was like, teach me everything about fashion now. So that's a different story. But that's what I think makes you believe that this is what you want to help people with, where that that right fit. And yes, so I totally agree that there's a gap, and if you are seeking and willing to learn, you can get help, and it's totally okay to seek help. That's what I also believe in.
You see this new thing again about being a personal shopper, which is there in India. I'm sure they'll take somebody, but then again, a personal shopper, I'm sure the training he or she has should be that you look at the person, male or female, look at the personality of the person, look at the body language, and don't suddenly come out with something so right across that he or she is going to feel, no, this is not for me. You've got to gradually bring the person in. Now, I don't know how the personal shoppers work in India.
Yes, so
do they work on a day basis, or do they they spend a long time sprucing them up in terms of their clothes and their all the health and all the other essentials that go with it?
So I have an answer to it. So as also personal stylist, what we do is, the very first thing is understanding your style personality. So we have psychological personalities, we do have 7 universal style personalities. You're elegant, or you're natural, or you are romantic. There are various personalities, and with certain, of course, after having the conversation a bit and some of the questions that we have, it helps us navigate towards the kind of personality you are. So for example, if you're a romantic personality, you would love to wear colors, you would love to wear softer fabrics, you would love to wear laces, if I'm talking about a woman. But if you're a person, like for example like me, who is not too much into the feminine side of things, I might not like florals a lot, right?
You're definitely a romantic.
In terms of, I mean, if I talk about the So the romantic personality, if we talk about the style personalities, it is more about the feminine style dressing, which is very soft, fragile, and very like, the lacy stuff, the flowing is going on. So that is a different. So we have a couple of celebrities who do that, just for the reference. So we understand the style personality first, and then we give the guidance that, this is what you should wear, or maybe for parties you should go for this color or this kind of fabric, this kind of
So
design.
this is what you do as well?
Yeah. So
Great.
that's why I say that that's why I call it dopamine dressing, because it's about, giving you that boost of happiness when you wear it. It's not about fitting you in something and saying that, oh, wear this suit and go to the meeting. No, it's not like that. I might
Yeah,
not.
it's the comfort zone, and then it also builds up confidence, I
Yeah.
believe, and that's just something at least that's what I try to push across to men and women, is it's the confidence that you
Yes.
have. It's the confidence.
Yeah, but again, one more point, Captain Vivek, is that you will feel confident if you are authentic to yourself.
Yeah,
If I
absolutely.
make you wear something which you are not resonating with your inner self, that confidence will go down. No
And
matter,
even
you will
the
be dressed
clothes.
in the best of the dresses.
Exactly.
So,
I
and
fully agree with you there. It's going to take, and it's a
it's an
time-driven
alignment.
process. It takes a
Yes.
time-driven process
Yeah.
before you can align all these different verticals into that
Yes.
person.
It is a lot about your inner alignment, and once that happens, even if you're wearing like a very simple dress, you will feel most confident in the room. So, and that's what, as image consultants also, we work for, is helping you first discover who you are in terms
Correct.
of style and expression, and then helping you aligning that with your wardrobe, so that it helps you being confident in yourself in every setup that you're into. I hope
Correct.
that answers your question.
No, it does. It definitely does.
Yeah. Okay, so I would just now step down towards more on the etiquette side of things. Given that, as you mentioned also, you have been part of finishing school and you have trained and you have guided people on etiquettes. What, I mean, I would not miss asking you this. What etiquette rule has evolved the most in the last decade, according to you?
Well, etiquette is something that is not. You're very correct. It has evolved over a period of time. It's evolved as that. Let's say in India, because we are now, although we have, as I mentioned earlier, we are very traditional. We're coming from such an old culture.
Yes.
But I find is if you look at the young generation today, and again because of the different stratas of society in India, you're talking about our strata. Fortunately, unfortunately, you want to experiment in a certain way, but when it comes to etiquette, where we had the old traditional way of wishing somebody, spending time with each other, sitting down and having a meal together, that now has evolved in a way. For me, it's a sad thing, because when we were together as families, you sat down, you met more frequently, you understood each other, you talked to each other, you sat and had a meal. There was a certain way of looking at the elders, you had a certain respect and all that. But now what's happening is that we are breaking away from, one is the large families, they don't exist anymore, and we are getting a group of, I would say, whether they are friends or not, I don't know. You've got so many friends on Facebook and Instagrams and all, but etiquette has evolved, but in a way, it's not something that has drastically changed. But on the other hand, we are now more aware of what, because of the internet, because of India opening up, I find is that even if you go to restaurants now in this part of India or the tier 1 cities, there's a lot of Western influence which has come in. So there, although you can sit down in a restaurant and whether it's talking, whether it's expressing yourself or having a meal, there is still a time lag. When I say is that if you go to a restaurant, like I went to a restaurant last time I was here, it's called Delhi clubhouse or clubhouse. You've seen the one in Gurgaon? It's in Horizon Center.
Okay.
It's called a restaurant for fine dining. But then they're also serving you chola bhaturas.
Mm-hmm.
So now the etiquette, this is dining etiquette. How do you really eat that with a knife and a fork, or how do you do it? So the manager or the owner of the restaurant, the management should work on that angle. When you present a certain meal, what is the arsenal you use? This is coming for the etiquette part of it. It is evolving, where there's more Italian restaurants where you got to use a knife and a fork properly. There's a soup spoon, there's a napkin, which was not there when we were young in those days, because of course when I went to this English school, we had that sort of etiquette. That's one side of the etiquette. The other side, when it comes to, this is for dining, but when it comes to our relationships with one another, I find is that we've become very casual in our relationships. We are not that formal anymore, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. We are, in a way, I find we're losing, again, it depends upon your education to a certain extent, but there doesn't seem to be a proper form of respect that we are giving to our elders.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of brashness today in society. There's a lot of, even your closest, there's a lot of, maybe it's because we are so many. If I look at India as a country, we are so many. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of, whether it's a rat race or getting to the end of the finish line faster than the others. So what you find is that you want to push each other, nudge each other, and get to that point.
Yeah.
And what is happening is that we are losing that sense of tradition. We are losing a certain. If you go to a restaurant, if you go to Rajasthan, you go to Kolkata, you go to somewhere, there still is in the villages there still is that there is a sense of tradition. There's a sense of respect.
Yeah.
But right now, I find is that is severely lacking in modern cities today. Everything is becoming very casual.
Yeah.
It's for your own convenience. See, etiquette is something that is you're born in a certain way, but then you also pick up the best from people.
Yes.
And this is something which I find is, maybe I'm not hitting you spot on what exactly you're asking me, but what I find is that the etiquette has changed a lot over the years. There is this brashness. There is more, like I even said, is like some big shot or some guy comes into a party. He knows the host and they sort of embrace each other. How's this? He won't even look at the others. This was not the case earlier on. Maybe it was a smaller get together. You knew each other or you were introduced. You went around and like to introduce you. This is the other thing is, which is something that even I like, is that when you're introduced to somebody, is it with you, Ruchi? You're introduced to 10 people, you've forgotten the names of the 8 people straight away. You don't remember them. If it's the first time, can you remember them? Because after a while, or maybe it's my age, he's so-and-so, he's Rahul, he's Vijay, he's this thing, there's Anita, there's Sharmila, this, and then in the end you say, wow.
Yeah.
Now who's that person? Maybe the Americans and the British have a way that they put the little label over here and you know who they are. But so you've got to repeat that name once or twice. But etiquette needs to be again garnered. It's got to be brought back into the limelight. And this is something where we are lacking. Now I know that you can't compare it. We are sitting here and we are having a great conversation. You go out into the streets and there is this, it's a dog eat dog world. It's you're pushing, you're shoving, you want to get. So if you start waiting, like when my son came to India many years ago, and he said, "Pa, what's that zebra line? Zebra line." I said, "That's for crossing the road." He said, "I tried to get on that zebra line and I was nearly run over because the cars came and..."
Yeah.
In Sweden, the minute you come to a zebra line, the car has to stop and come on to neutral.
Yes.
You can't just keep rolling. You've got to stop. And what I do when I cross, I always thank them like that. Thank you for letting me pass. I do that always overseas, is that I'm walking and he stops and I say, thank you. That's something. Here, again, I think it's also got to do with the necessities of life.
Yes, yes. Yeah. We say na, the Maslow's law of hierarchy, the needs.
The needs. It's the
Yeah,
needs.
it's the needs.
And because of needs, we can get more arrogant, we get more possessive, we want more, we desire more. Whether these are genuine desires or we are there to impress other people. Because in the end, Ruchi, you're only answerable to yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. True.
So it's who you are as a person, how you evolve over time. You look at the past, you look at what I sit and talk to my mum, she's 94 years old. Of course, she's losing a memory. I said, Mum, you taught us so many things as we went along.
Yeah.
You taught us this is the correct way of talking, this is the correct way of wishing somebody, this is the correct way of, when you come to a party, when you leave, thank you very much, be soft. Always if somebody offered you something, say no thank you. No thank you. No thank you, auntie. No thank you, uncle. And then, no, you've got to have it. Thank you, I'll have a little bit. My grandmother used to always say, when you go for a party, you never finish your food. I mean, you don't leave it all that it goes waste, but you leave
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So, otherwise they'll think, oh, they were so hungry, they ate up everything.
Yeah.
My grandmother, my nanny used to tell me that,
Yeah.
She says, no, you leave a little bit on your plate. Say that, no, we've come from a cultured background.
These are
We've
the
come
old
to-
wise.
These are the old vibes. Today, what happens is you go to a wedding, and you'll get some big time caterer. He's going to have 55 dishes over there, and all this stuff is happening, and you've spent so much money. I feel is that you should have just a few dishes. There should be more polite conversation.
Yeah.
There should be more courtesy
Conversations,
extended.
yes. More connections.
Yeah, more connections.
Yeah.
is
Genuine
lacking.
connections. Yeah.